All right, everyone. So, in the video today, we're going to talk about how the higher you climb in life and the better that you do, the more you're going to trigger in people's insecurities and the more that a lot of people are going to dislike you. And, we all know that common saying, hate never comes from above. If you don't have haters, you're doing something right. And, I've noticed myself, and I mean this in the humblest way possible. I stack very high in many avenues of life, career, um, you know, financially, for sure. I'm definitely one, in the higher percentage of attraction when it comes to the male demographic. I feel like intelligence, confidence, experiences with women, sexual experience, things like that, right? And I've noticed that the higher and higher that I've climbed, especially since because I didn't have the highest starting point, I had to really grind to get to here. I've noticed that there's a lot of people along the way that either assumed things about me, projected insecurities onto me, or just in general didn't like me. And I realized, in the office, the higher you climb, you could trigger jealousy from coworkers, getting more success than your friends. Out of the bar, you could trigger jealousy and competition from your friends and male acquaintances. There's a lot of different examples. One example as well is, the stereotypical hot girl in the friend group. A lot of guys approach her, and then the other friends that are that aren't attractive, or maybe the fat ugly friend is like, oh fuck, Brittany always has the guys coming, fuck this girl, and they get jealous. And I've heard that from many different girls that are super hot. They said that when guys come up in a friend group setting, that they generally turn the guys down because they know that their friends are getting really pissed because it keeps happening. So, girls could be, girls are very catty, right? They could be very jealous of partners, or, interpersonally within their own female dynamics. Men could be jealous or insecure of people's physiques, right? Um, that one's pretty self-explanatory. Ultimately, what it boils down to is that your light irritates their demons, right? Your light, your aura, your accomplishments, the great things that are happening to you, the levels that you've been leveling up, the strides that you've been making in life, the self-improvement journey that you've been on, holds a direct mirror reflective to them. And they know right away, without you even saying anything. You could just walk in and have a Rolex on your wrist, and you could have a jack physique, and you don't even say anything. They know right away, wow, this guy's putting in more work than me, or this guy's had more success than me, more results than me. And ultimately, you're triggering their demons. You're shining a light on everything that they're not doing. And just the mere presence of you makes some of these people feel like shit. So the only way people are going to want to spend time with you is if they feel good around you, right? That's why a lot of people, they feel comfortable with people that they feel better than. But people that they're not better than, or not, even if the person's humble, isn't super competitive, or braggadocious, it just they just feel some type of way around that person, or less secure in themselves. You're really a reminder of all the hard work that they're not doing. A lot of these people want to project their own hatred onto you instead of take radical accountability to better themselves. That's something that was really big for me. At around 22, 23 years old, I took radical accountability. I looked in the mirror and told myself, dude, you're an absolute fucking loser. And you're going to have to grind these next few years in fitness and social skills and your career and cold approaching, and maybe, just maybe, after years of grueling, not that fun hard work, some peaks and valleys along the way, maybe in your late 20s you'll reap the rewards, which I definitely have. And I'm really thankful that I had that self-awareness and that discipline, to do that. So now I believe that I'm in a top 5% male. The reason I say top five, I guess I won't delve into it, but I would genuinely say I'm in the top five percentages of eligible bachelors, if you say. And I went through a phase in my life where I was just wrote off male friendships altogether. I was like, dude, I just keep triggering these guys' insecurities. I don't even mean to. I'll just be hanging out with the guy for 2 hours. We'll be at a bar. I'll be totally chill with him. Then I'll be like, hey, I'll be right back, man. And then I'll go talk to a girl that's a 10 out of 10, looks hot as hell. And just doing that, walking back, I'm not walking back like some big ego or puffing my chest out or like I schooled you, but I'll just walk back and be like, anyways, bro, so what were we talking about? And just doing that, you won't believe, and I could talk about it in another video, just some of the reactions, I've had guys, start stuttering and they're like freaking out. I've had guys tell me, "Why'd you do that, dude?" Like, well, dude, why don't you wait for the girls to come to you? Like, and they're so triggered by it. Or they just feel the need where they have to one up me or that I out alpha them or bigger dick them. So I've been hanging out with a lot of guys and made a lot of new guy acquaintances lately. But I was actually during that phase, it made me so upset where I just started hanging out with girls and made some platonic female friends along the way as well. I talked about a little bit earlier, but I'll expand on it more now. Extreme jealousy in the corporate world, especially in sales. Sales is a cut and dry. It's not like HR or accounting, right? It's obvious, who's closed the most sales. There's no debating who's the best on the team. There's no debating anything. The numbers are cut and dry. It's performance. It's KPI related. And I've noticed in sales, even I've been a top performer my entire career. I've either been number one, two, or three at any company I've ever worked at, and I've noticed that a lot of your colleagues are going to feel some type of way, right? Oh, you just closed another deal, right? They're not genuinely happy for you, right? That provides less job security for them the better that you do, right? And they feel like, what is he doing that I'm not doing? This guy must have a huge ego, right? He's doing so much better than me. He probably thinks who the fuck he is. Fuck this guy, right? People project all types of shit on themselves to mentally do gymnastics and mentally justify their own shortcomings in life. Um, a lot of these guys have a wife and kids as well in the corporate world, right? They're 45 years old. They're way older than me. They have mouths to feed. They have a family to support. So, when they see a guy that's making, hundreds of thousands of dollars of commission more than them, obviously it's going to make them feel like less of a man, less of a provider, jealous, insecure. And they know that I'm a single guy right now. I have all this money just to me. So it further creates the separation between us and makes them be even more enraged, or just kind of, we just can't vibe. We just can't vibe together. It just doesn't work. um I've noticed some things which, I have mixed feelings on this. Drop your comments down below. Strategic, especially in the corporate world, strategic self-deprecating humor, kind of downplaying yourself, right? I try not to brag a lot. I almost downplay myself so much to where it might even impact my self-esteem a little bit, right? On the flip side, I think bragging too much isn't good. I think there's a fine balance, right? And situational awareness, when to do one or the other. But ultimately, if I had to choose one, I think it should be just a little borderline cocky, would be good. But again, in an office environment, I've always believed in downplaying myself a little bit and letting my numbers speak for themselves. But again, I'd like your feedback on that and what you think. Some tips and tricks how to deal with this. You really just have to have a fuck it mindset. You have to be polarizing. You have to be your authentic self. Never let anyone, I'm always going to keep shooting to be the best version of myself, even if it's lonelier at the top, even if it's going to make some people and some relationships fall apart. I'm a true believer that I'm a light in darkness, and that I'm going to fly through, and that I'm going to, strive to be the best version of myself, and I'm going to attract the right relationships and people to me that I need to. And, as a result, you being authentic and living your best self and striving forward in life, right, is going to make some of those friendships and relationships fall apart that weren't meant to be there. So I'm a big believer in that as well. But, sometimes it could be a hard pill to swallow. So ultimately, this was a pretty short video this time. I'm going to wrap up the video. As always, like, comment, subscribe, and make sure that you turn on post notifications as well, so you get alerted when I drop more knowledge, more alpha, more tips and tricks. This whole channel, as you know, is about self improvement. So appreciate you tuning in so far, and hope you have a great rest of your day.